Jai Sri Krishna. And today, all the lessons that I have given you earlier on the Gita, this is for the youngsters, for the beginners. So, all that I have given you earlier is really more the introduction. I told you about the Mahabharata. I told you about how the Pandavas chose Krishna over the army, how Arjun, frankly, a Pandava, and yet the Kauravas were happy to have the army instead. And now, actually, today we are entering into the Gita, right? So, this is the Gita, chapter 1, lesson 1, even though it may be the lesson 6, right? But we are entering into the Gita today, and we have already done the spoken about the greatness of the Gita. If you have been following me, that is. But let me read, as I said, from my notes. Dhritarashtra was the blind father of Duryodhan. Duryodhan is the Kauravas, okay? And Dhritarashtra was the blind father of Duryodhan and his brothers, that is the Kauravas. And explanations do not suggest that the Mahabharata is an allegory. This is in brackets, that it doesn't necessarily say, but there were a lot of people look at the Mahabharata also as an allegory, and it also fits well. But anyway, it was the extreme attachment of Dhritarashtra for his children that blinded him to dharma, that is truth and justice. That's why it says it could be a symbolic, that because he was so attached to his sons, he could not see the truth, and therefore he was blind. But it doesn't suggest that. I mean, he was the blind king. Dhritarashtra believed blindly that physical might would triumph. Dhritarashtra asked Sanjay, "What did the Pandavas and my son do when they had assembled on the holy land of Kurukshetra, eager to fight, O Sanjaya?" That is the first verse, really, of the Gita, that Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya. Because Sanjay, it seems, had a vision whereby he could see. But let me continue reading. The fascinating thing that happens now is that Sanjay gives Dhritarashtra a moment-to-moment account about what happens in Kurukshetra. Less than 100 years ago, one would have thought that it was fantasy, magic, or that Sanjay had spiritual powers because he could see live what was happening in the war. Maybe Sanjay did, but now in the live television broadcast zamana that we live in, it is so much easier to believe that it's possible. Anyway, this is the Gita chapter 1, lesson 2. It is still the chapter 1, but it is the lesson 2. At Kurukshetra, all the famous warriors from both sides, Pandavas and Kauravas, had assembled. Hundreds of conches blared. Krishna was to act as the charioteer of Arjuna. Arjuna requested Krishna to place the chariot between the two armies. As Arjuna surveyed his opponents, he saw grandfathers, teachers, uncles, sons, relatives, friends. A feeling of despondency took over him. He wondered whether victory, even if it came to him, would be worth the carnage. The bow slipped from his Arjuna's hand and he turned to Lord Krishna for guidance. The first chapter of the Gita is called the Yoga of Despondency of Arjuna. Why is it called yoga? Because there comes a point in everyone's life when one has tried all means to control situations to one's liking. When one just lets the bow fall, and that is when the inquiry starts. Just when you start to give up after the problems that you face in life. All journeys start with the first step. The first step towards the philosophic quest is the inquiry, Athato Brahma Jignasa. Jignasa is the wanting to know more about why, how, what. Then starts the sadhana, the spiritual effort the seeker puts in. The word sadhana is derived from the root word siddh, which means to be accomplished in seeking divinity. The quest starts out and ends in the knowing that there is no separation. There is no separation between God and you. So I think maybe I should stop here. I know, and now we get into the Gita. So Yeah, I hope you have read the first lessons, but congratulations on entering the Gita. And until next time, take care and God bless.